Up until now, you've probably encountered one or another error, maybe while setting up Conda or while writing your first Python code. In this video, we will cover the different kind of errors that might occur when you try executing your code. We will talk about how to properly read the error message and of course how to fix them, or at least how to go about fixing them. We can group the different Python errors into syntax, runtime and logical errors. In the beginning, the most common one will probably be the syntax error, since we're not that familiar with Python's syntax yet. So this error occurs whenever we make syntactical mistakes. For example, we might miss a bracket or a quotation mark, or we make some indentation error. Reading the according error message and then fixing the syntax error is fairly easy, because Python will tell us where exactly the error is and what's going wrong. So for example, here it's showing us the file, then the line, and then it's even pointing to the exact location where our syntax is wrong. And what is wrong with our syntax we can see here. So it's an indentation error. And it even specifies expected an indented block after if statement on line 3. So that's our block and Python wants it indented. When dealing with syntax errors, we notice that none of our code is executed. So here it's printing it's running and then hi, but if we make a syntax error, then it will not only not print the hi, but also not the it's running. And that is because syntax errors are checked before execution, so before runtime. And that makes sense because if Python cannot understand our code, then it cannot even attempt executing it. Now onto runtime errors. They happen when Python can understand our code, so it's syntactically correct, but it cannot execute it. So for example, maybe we try printing the variable x. Since we didn't define x, we will get a name error, saying that the name x is not defined. And here we can also see that it's printing the it's running. So because we didn't make any syntax mistakes, the code will be executed, but at this point Python has no idea what the x is, and so it stops and throws us an error at runtime, more specifically a name error. During this course you will discover a lot of these errors. One very common one is the type error, and that happens when we try to do an operation with inappropriate data types. So for example, we try printing the sum of 2 and some string. This gives us then a type error saying that addition is not supported between integers and strings. Fixing these runtime errors can be a bit more complicated, but eventually you'll get used to it. And also the error messages are often very helpful. So it's again specified where the error occurred, so here in line 3. And what's special about this error message compared to syntax errors is that we have this traceback here. And that's because runtime errors compared to syntax errors are sometimes not that easy to pinpoint. So for a syntax error, we can always say it's in that line, and we can even specify in that line the exact location. But when a runtime error occurs, then we sometimes have to trace back the error. And without the notion of functions, that's a bit hard to explain, but you can imagine that we can have code that is calling other code. And so maybe two parts of code, let's say A and B, call this third part C. And so when an error occurs here, then we want to know whether that came from B or A. And that's what the traceback is for. Finally, we have logical errors. They are the hardest ones to spot, because when they occur, our code is running, but it's not doing what we had in mind. So maybe we're writing a while loop, and then we say while a is smaller than 10, we print something. But then we forget to increment a, and that will cause a while loop that we didn't intend. Now some general advice on how to fix your errors. If you don't understand an error message, just type it into Google. The first or second link will take you to Stack Overflow, which is often a very good source for fixing your errors. On Stack Overflow, you can first see the question asked, and then you'll see multiple answers. If an answer solved the problem of the person asking, you will see this green tick mark here. And these answers are usually a good place to start. Sometimes it also pays off to read the comments on an answer, because it might happen that something changed over time, which the original answer did not account for. And if the first answer is not working for you, you can just go to the second one.